Okay, so this is our session using a birthing ball. So we're going to look at a couple of different aspects. So most people, when you think about a birthing ball, you just consider using it for the birth. The clue's in the name, isn't it? A birthing ball. And they are really, really useful when you're in labour, particularly in the first stage of labour. So we're going to look at how you can use it in labour, how you can use it to give birth with as a tool to help you. However, there's quite a lot of stuff you can do on it pre-labour to make yourself really comfortable as well. So it's not just for the labour, you can actually use it at home. And a lot of mums have said actually that they really enjoy, particularly towards the end of pregnancy, the only thing they can sit on comfortably is the ball. They can't go on the sofa anymore, everything else is really uncomfortable, and they just love their ball and they snuggle up with their ball every night, and it's the only thing you can feel comfortable on. So that is what we're going to do. So a couple of little things just to go through first. Glasses. So I talked about this, the ball size, and about how it's important to have the right ball for your height. And the reason for that is because when you're sitting on them, you're not going to have the right angle for your. Do you want to let yours down a little bit? Because I've got a.
Yes, if someone else can help me as well.
Yeah, well, I've got a proper thing. I've got it. No, that's it's in one of these. There's another. Where is it? Yeah, I've got a scooper. So these are quite handy. These I've had a couple of balls and they came with them. So you scoop it. So I was quite good to have two actually, because one of you needs to put your thumb on it, because it's that air is going to shoot out because it's so
everyone's going to
pressured. But this is what I do a lot of the time. The first 5 minutes of the class is getting everybody's balls the right size, because if it's too high or too low and it's not the right thing for your height, then it's not going to be comfortable for you. That's going to shoot up to the ceiling, isn't it?
Watch your eyes, everyone.
Yeah. Need some safety goggles.
There we go. It's not out.
Oh yeah.
Might be alright. Just yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was going to say just leaving it half, so because the air's coming out. Yeah. You just want a bit of give. So that's the other thing with the balls. And I've talked about this a lot, that husbands or men specifically seem to like to blow balls up until they're rock hard, and that's no good, because you want a bit of give. Can you feel when you're sitting on it, you want that little bit of a bounce? When you're leaning back into it, you want it to give. So if there's no, a bit tiny, a little touch more. That'll also kind of suit your height a bit better as well. So yes, if it's underinflated, you're going to sort of collapse into it, and if it's overinflated, it's going to feel really uncomfortable. Marvellous.
Yeah, that looks.
Can I see
Yeah. Space hopper.
Do you know, somebody did bring a space hopper in a couple of years ago. They didn't have a ball, but they had a space hopper, and they took it into the labour ward, and they gave birth on the space hopper. Respect. Okay, so the size is important. So on the sheet, if you're up to 5'3" and below, then a 55 centimetre ball is going to be fine. So medium height, 5'4" to about 5'10", a 65 centimetre ball will be fine. If you're over 5'10", you need a 75. So if you're not sure what you've got, because they don't always come with the size on. To give you an idea, I think Claire and Kelly, you've got 75s. And you could, no,
65 I've got.
65. Are they? Really
I'm only
inflated.
5'6". Yeah.
Right. Oh, because they look quite big, don't they?
Yeah.
Mine's only 65 and it looks like half the size.
I think but if I put any less in it, my hips were lower than my knees.
Yeah.
So I just had to.
That's because you need a 75, yeah.
Oh right.
Because you're quite tall.
Oh right.
But maybe it needs to be less than 5'10" then.
Yeah.
You also, do you have any 5'6"?
Yeah, just under 5'7".
Right. Okay.
That's why I bought the 65 one actually.
Okay. But that ball is, as it is, it's the right height for you.
Yeah.
But they just.
I got a bit carried away with, but then I've obviously sat on it since the weekend. I thought you were going to not tell me off, but I thought you were going to say
perfect. You've got the give. It's got a bit of give, and it's the right height. Yeah. So the key thing that you're looking for when you're sitting on your ball is, are your hips lower than your knees? Jen?
That's a bit low.
Yeah, but do you want to pump it up?
Yeah, I was going to try pumping it up, but I think it is a size too small, but it's one I've had for ages, so I was going to buy a new one if pumping didn't work.
Okay.
Sense.
Try this
Have it
one,
up, okay.
because that's the same size, isn't it?
Yeah,
65.
I feel like that says 55 on it. I don't have to say I've had it for years. I mean, it kind of looks like 22 to be honest.
It might just be SS. It just says SS. It's not a number. It doesn't look like a number.
Should I sit on this is a 65?
This is 65, and it's an old one, so they could probably do with a bit of. Could we do a bit more?
That seems similar to that.
So, yeah, it is. I think they both just need pumping up a little
I am
bit
more legs than body.
Yeah,
I don't know if
I am.
But I'm only just under 5'6".
Right. Let me just pump that up.
I have
for
no
you a
body
little
at
bit.
all.
No, I'm exactly the same. I'm 5'4", and it's mostly leg. My
So I have
ribs
deep
sit on
tops.
top of my hips.
Yeah, literally.
I've got no waist at all.
I know.
Short, piddly little legs. Loads of body.
That's nice in a bikini. Like in a bikini, I'm just like.
Mind you, that is.
About.
So you're not going to get much more. You'll get more in that one, but not this one. So I think you have got a 55. Let me put a bit
It
more.
looks barely any different size. I don't know. Honestly, it's about 10 years old.
So let's just see if this works. Yeah, so the key thing is you want to have your hips the same or slightly higher than your knees, because otherwise it's optimum fetal position problem. So you need to.
Yeah, definitely a bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
Oh, stop! Oh. Try that. See if that is better. I'll have it growing. I've got a real still there.
Train up to the less.
I feel like I'm a bit flatter.
Yeah, it's still.
Still a bit
It's
light.
still a bit sore.
It is. Yeah, you need a big. I think a 75 might be a bit.
Did you say yours is a 65? Is yours 65?
Yeah.
It's just really well blown.
I feel like that would definitely be.
I mean, that looks like a
I'm
75.
gonna fall off.
That's what a 75 would look like.
Yeah,
But in terms of your angle, that's a better angle. Does it
yeah.
feel like
That's
it's
quite
more
comfortable actually. Yeah. Wait, is this a new one? Have you just bought that? Yeah. Do you reckon it's 70?
Yeah.
But I think what Catherine's done, or Mr. Catherine,
Pumped it up quite a lot. It does feel like it's got a lot. It still feels soft though.
yeah,
You did say that.
seen it before. So Pip, how are you on that one?
I feel alright. Does it look? What does it look?
You're just about bang on, but you've got your
Yeah.
legs tucked underneath. So I'm just wondering if you start to. Oh no, you're all right. You're bang on.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's about right.
You are, yeah, you're absolutely bang on. Okay, how's everybody else? So, do you think that one might need a little bit more in actually, Kaylee, because you're sinking
it
down
might,
a little bit? Has it gone down?
Probably since I sat on it.
Can I just pump yours up a little bit more? It's just that, as I said before,
Yeah.
it's all about the optimum fetal positioning, and you're going to not give you a back. Plus, it'll give you sort of backache as well if you're not sitting properly, because you'll be sort of slumping. So this is a regular regular part of the ball class, getting everyone's balls in the right. See that one? Even though it's a 65, it's pumping up quite big, isn't it? Nice colour.
That's not like a maternity one, that's just a gym.
Shouldn't make any difference. There's absolutely no difference in what they do and how they're made. It's possible if they're called verticals. So yours looks perfect. That looks good. So everyone's all right. I just need to get yours up and a little bit more. Then it might give a bit while you're on it. Okay, see how that feels now when you sit on it. So you might feel that it's a bit more comfortable in terms of your spine.
Oh yeah.
It really does make a difference. It's kind of like if you're sitting in a chair that's too low for you and you have to kind of slump to get into it. It's never going to be comfortable. Okay, really good. So all the balls are right size apart from mine, which I'll sort of. I'm not pregnant, so it's not a problem. So that's the first thing. So just checking, and what might happen, particularly for those of you that have got new balls, is that as you use them, the rubber might stretch a little bit, and then they start to give a little. So then they sag a little bit more. So after a couple of weeks of using a new ball, you might think this isn't as comfortable as it used to be. It's because it needs more air in it. So the rubber will stretch in the next couple of weeks. So just bear that in mind. You might have to re-inflate it in a few weeks. Second thing, yeah, so I said, am I getting anti-burst? Yeah, done that. Okay, all good. So we're good to go. So what we're going to do first of all is actually just sit back on it to make it comfortable for you, and you're going to sit on the floor. So you're going to put the ball against the wall or whatever you've got behind you so that it's not going to roll away. Well, you've got two to choose from there. Oh, if you don't want to,
Yeah, it's
you want to
alright.
say,
Okay, that's alright. You know when I can't win it. Whatever. It's basically.
all good?
Yeah.
So, when we put the ball into our lower back, so you want to get back as far as you can, so you want almost your pelvis to be under the gap, so that your lower back is really pushing, or your lower back is being pushed by the ball. Then, and this is where it gets a bit tricky because most of the balls are not high enough, you're going to lean back. So what it's doing is it's opening the chest. Now, for most of you, you'll go, oh no, that's not very nice. You need something under your head. So I'll need a couple of blocks, and then when I've got the blocks under, it means that I'm not straining my neck. So behind your head, you're going to need a block, a pillow. I've got loads of blocks, so I can come around with the blocks. So find what works for you. Some of you, if the balls are quite
You might have to go on some blocks, Julie.
yeah, that's fine. And I've got a couple of blankets as well. So I always put your pillow behind your head, Harriet, and then and then you might need to scrunch. Yeah, that's fine. Maybe scrunch it under your neck as well, so that it's giving you. So you kind of want the neck in alignment. You don't want it to be really thrown back, so it's going to be uncomfortable. Okay, you need one. You look sorted. You alright?
Please do have one.
Yeah.
Or thin one, then I can put my pillow as well.
It might not be.
Thank you.
I've got a brick, but I've got a blanket. I can.
I've got a blanket actually. Should I put my
Yeah,
blanket?
roll the blanket up underneath your. God, what a told is that, blanket.
Oh yeah, honestly. Normally carrying a posse and everything wrapped in it.
How's that? Is that?
I think so. Do we fold that?
I would just do what you need to do with it, like scrunch it up to make sure that your neck is in the right position. And then you're just going to sit here for a few minutes because it's going to open the chest. So it's kind of like a back bend. So when you're pregnant, doing back bends is something you don't often get the opportunity to do. Now, some of you have slid away from your ball. So now your lower back isn't getting the support that we're looking for. So if I come sideways, without try not to get the ball to roll away. So what you want is your lower back to be connected to the ball. And it's just a tiny little gap, and then leaning back, obviously with as much support as you want, because then you can really open the front of your body. If you're in this position, in a couple of minutes you're going to get backache because you've got no support for your lower back. Okay, so that's the point of the ball, that you want it pushing into your lumbar spine so you've got some support. So that's the first thing to do, get your lower back supported, and then you have to sort out the neck with your bricks, blocks, blankets, cushions, whatever you've got to hand. And then with your legs, it's really up to you. You can stretch the legs out in front, you can cross the legs, you can come into butterfly pose if you want to work on some hip stretching. So however it feels for you. And then you're just going to relax into this pose. Or not. If it's not comfortable, you can come out, but for some of you, you're going to get a really nice thoracic stretch. So you're going to feel this spaciousness in the front of the body. So once you have settled into the position, just begin to relax. So ease back into the ball. So this opens the chest, relaxes the shoulders, but the other thing that's going to happen here is because you're stretching through the front of the body, your rib cage is slightly elevated, which means you've now got some space between your diaphragm and your baby, which in the later stages of pregnancy you don't normally have, and it's that pressure of the uterus pushing up against the diaphragm which restricts your breathing. So if you're in that stage at the moment where the breathing is a bit restricted, then leaning back over the ball, you might find that you can actually breathe quite comfortably. So enjoy this opportunity to breathe deeply. Invite the breath into all the spaces in your lungs. So think about breathing lower, middle and upper sections. And also think about breathing out into the sides of the body as well. Breathing into the side ribs. And as you start to develop a gentle rhythm for your breathing, you might want to consider using a little bit of Ujjayi breath or ocean breath, just to slow down the breathing a little bit more. So again, because we're stretching this part of the body, it's also quite a good counter pose for things like heartburn and indigestion. So just continuing in that same way, slow, gentle breath in, expanding the breath into the sides of the ribs, the lower middle and upper. And then just take a couple more breaths. Noticing if it feels a little bit easier now. And then you can just let the breathing return back to normal. And then you can just bring yourself up into just a normal seated position. So just having the ball again in the back of the body and sitting in a more upright position. And just taking the arms out to the sides. So just have a little stretch through one side and through the other side. So again, just having the support of the ball behind you allows us to get a little bit deeper into the upper part of the body. So if you ever want to do any thoracic stretches at home, using the ball in this way can be quite useful. So take a hold now of your opposite elbows. And as you breathe out, just lengthen the right side of your body. So just ease over towards the left, just creating some space through the right side. And then as you breathe in, gently come back. And then as you breathe out, lengthening through the left side. And then coming all the way back up. And do that another time on each side. So notice if there's a little bit more space. And then release the arms and come down. Now interlace the fingers, push the palms away. Inhale, reach all the way up, push the palms to the ceiling, and as you breathe out, just bring the backs of the hands onto your head. At the same time, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and just see if you can draw the elbows back a little bit more, so you've still got that stretch across the front of the body. And then breathing and reach all the way up, and then breathe out, come all the way down. Now you're going to interlace your fingers the other way. So look at your index finger, see which one is on the top, and then swap them over so your other index finger's on the top. And this stumps people sometimes. And it feels odd. That's somebody else's fingers. Push the palms away again. Inhale, reach up. And just lengthen through the body. Push the palms of the hands up to the ceiling. So another good stretch for the wrists. And then as you breathe out next, bring the backs of the hands onto the head, draw the shoulder blades together, allow the elbows to draw a little bit further back so you've got a bit more space. The next time you breathe in, take the arms all the way up to the ceiling, and then as you breathe out, lower them all the way down. Okay, so from here we're going to come over onto all fours. So this is probably the most used position you'll have with your ball. So you're going to come over onto your hands and onto your knees. So just easing up onto your elbows. And we're going to start just getting a feel for having some control of the ball. So if you haven't used one before, it can take a bit of time to get used to the movements that you have to do to enable you to control where the ball is going. So there's a couple of options here. You can come up onto your elbows, or if it's comfortable, you can actually rest over the ball. Now that's not comfortable for everybody because you might have very sore boobs. So some women when they're pregnant have really sore boobs, and some aren't affected at all. So if that's a problem, then this might not be suitable. So you might want to come up onto the elbows. But there is something you can do, which is if you use a bath towel, and I'll just use my blanket. So you can use a bath towel or a blanket, and you basically roll it up into a sausage like that, and then you place it underneath your boobs, And then when you lie flat, it just lifts your boobs away. So does anybody want to try this? It needs to be a roll really, because that it'd be too flat. So you just want to put it underneath your boobs. So basically it's on your rib cage. Does that feel better? Yeah. So what you're doing when you're using that lift is the pressure is kind of going into the lower rib cage now, and there's no pressure against your boobs. So that can be an option to make it more comfortable. So from here, just start to ease forwards and backwards. You might want to turn the head to one side. And then just notice how that feels. If you're getting any lower back pain, notice how being in this position is hopefully easing out a little bit of your back pain. If you get any round ligament pain, this is where the ligaments in the abdomen get pulled painfully tight, usually following a growth spurt, and you get these sharp pains in your abdomen. And this kind of coming onto all fours, leaning forward position is one of the best counter poses that you can have for that round ligament pain, because you're taking all the weight off the ligaments. Can be also quite nice for the sacrum, but other than that, it's just very restful, isn't it? You can imagine you can just lie here or kneel here for quite some time. And a lot of mums in the classes have said that they can quite easily sit like this for 3 hours at night, maybe watch a film or something. So it's a way of being comfortable when you can't get comfortable on anything else in the house. And then just gently sway the hips from side to side. Just explore these movements. How does that feel? So that little bit of a sway, you can even work into the sacrum. A little bit of easing for the lower back. It's also really good for optimum fetal positioning. So if you're around the 34-week mark, then this is a position that I often recommend mums to do every day. Spend some time over your ball. You can kind of feel the space that your baby has, can't you? You know, as opposed to sitting in a chair or sitting upright. Can you feel the difference in the abdomen? That kind of feeling of spaciousness. That is what you need if a baby needs to turn. So if your baby isn't already head down and you're kind of at 34 weeks plus, then you might want to consider adopting this position quite often, just because it's going to give your baby a lot of space if they need to turn and change their direction and change their position. And you probably find after a while that just some natural movements arise. You might find yourself just kind of rocking gently. And do you remember what I was saying last week about movement and rhythm being very calming? And you can kind of almost feel that gentle rocking of yourself is very soothing, isn't it? It's almost coming back to like when our own parents would have rocked us and soothed us. It's a really soporific experience, this just gentle rocking forwards and backwards. It's stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and relax branch of the nervous system. Okay, so that's something else that you can do at home just to be comfortable. And then you can come up onto the ball and sit on it. So so you can see I'm demonstrating here the wrong way to be on a ball, because I'm like you, all legs, no body, and this is underinflated. Can you see? If I was pregnant, that, I mean, even as a not pregnant woman, that's pretty uncomfortable, because I can't really get up and out of my my hips. So that's what you want to try and avoid if you can. So sitting on the ball. So when we use these in the gym, when they use them for sort of core work, we sit right on top of the ball. We're not doing that in pregnancy. We're using it for something else. So rather than sitting directly on top of it, where you've got very little control over it and you might feel a little bit wobbly, a little bit out of control, you come slightly forwards. So imagine your ball was a clock face coming this way and you're at 1 o'clock rather than 12 o'clock, yeah? Does that make sense? Now, can you feel the difference? Just that slight tip forward.
I feel more unsteady now than I did.
But when you start moving the ball,
yeah,
it's a bit different. If you're right on the top, as opposed to slightly forwards. But if it doesn't work for you, then sit on the top, Karen. There are always exceptions to every rule, aren't there? But I know for me, I feel a lot more able to move and make bigger movements if I sit slightly forward.
Down there. I just feel a bit less stable.
And so once you've found the position that you feel you've got the most control, you learn to drive the ball with your feet. So it feels like you're moving the pelvis, but if you go down into your feet, it's actually the feet that are doing, you're shifting weight from one foot to the other and sort of driving these positions. And the balls make farty noises on yoga mat. So if you take your yoga mat into the berth and you put your ball on top, it's going to sound like it.
On my floor at home. I'm like, that's the ball.
That's a good excuse,
I
isn't
only
it?
do that to my husband, as in if we have guests.
Christmas dinner.
It's all the sprouts, yes. So this is a good one, again, just for getting used to sitting on the ball. Again, it's comfortable, provided you've got the ball at the right height. And in addition to that, it does give you a little bit of engagement of your core muscles and your pelvic girdle muscles as well. This is how I spend my evenings.
Literally.
Is that okay?
Yeah, this is how I spend my evenings at the moment. I can't sit on my sofa, so I'm just literally sitting rotating on the wall, watching TV. It's so comfortable.
I think sofas they're just not a pregnant woman's friend, even from very early on. They're just not designed. Am I hearing things?
I think that's me.
Is that you? I was just thinking,
Sorry.
I've got tinnitus.
No.
I can hear a ping.
My sister asking how my back is.
Is that, I'm working on it right now. Okay, so these are some things that you can do during your pregnancy. So we can look at ways of using it during labour now. And there's a couple of specific moves, and we've done most of these in the class, and they are like the bread and butter moves of labour. And these are just ways of moving your hips. So you can stay on the ball, and then we'll come back down and do some kneeling work. So the way that labour often develops is that mums are quite happy to sit on the ball in the early stages of labour, but as the cervix starts to open, it's uncomfortable to sit on it because it's opening. So at some point you won't sit on your ball, you'll come down onto all fours instead. So the first move is just a little bit of swaying, so just easing the pelvis from side to side, and we will do a little bit of breath. So be careful that you're not just moving the body. So you want the hips need to be doing the movement rather than, because if you're doing this, there's nothing really happening in the pelvis. So it's got to come from. It's a little bit like the salsa or samba. You have to have samba hips to make the ball move and keeping the body in a straight line. So ocean breath, just a slow, steady ocean breath as you sway the hips from from side to side. And then you're going to circle the ball around. So this is the second of movement. So you're going to roll the ball around. And so now these movements start to make a little bit more sense. You know, when we've done them in the class and we've been doing them sort of freestanding or free sitting, they're not massively comfortable, but now when you translate it to being on a ball, it makes a lot more sense, and the fact that it's going to be, you can do 4 hours of this, probably, you know, whereas if you were doing it standing or on your hands, you probably wouldn't have been too comfortable. So now introducing the ha breath. In that 4 to 7 hours that you might be sitting on your ball. So these movements in labour, and we're really talking about the first stage of labour here, because in the second stage you'll be pushing, so you definitely won't be sitting on a ball when you're pushing. So in the first stage of labour, you only do the movements while you're having a contraction. So when your contraction stops, you stop and you rest. There's just no point in expending energy keeping on circulating when the contractions aren't happening, because you're kind of wasting that energy. You might as well just save it. So sitting on the ball helps the cervix to open, and you've also got gravity on your side because you're completely vertical. So you've got gravity kind of pushing down a little bit more into the cervix. Improves the circulation to the pelvis. So all of this moving, every time you move your pelvis around, you're bringing blood into your pelvic organs, of which your uterus is one of them. And it reduces the discomfort. Anytime you're doing these hip circles, it reduces the discomfort that you're going to experience from the contractions, you know, as opposed to just being still and potentially just lying on your back. So the discomfort is a lot more when you're being still and you're lying on your back. When you're moving and you're not lying on your back, the discomfort reduces quite considerably. So the next move that we're going to do is lunging. So you're going to come up, back onto all fours, and you're going to step 1 foot forward. Then you're going to drop down onto the ball. So you're going to use the ball. So again, this is one that's going to make a lot more sense, because we've done this quite a lot just on our hands and our knees, and it might not have been particularly comfortable, but now can you see the difference? This you could do all the live long day, really, more or less. So just rocking forwards and backwards, and then using the straw breath. So inhaling through the nose and then just blowing the breath out gently through the lips. Notice how that feels. So this changes the angle of the pelvis, and it's quite useful to do some lunging during the first stage of labour, because it will help your baby to get into the most optimum position for the birth, because your baby has got to sort of navigate all the bony landscape of your pelvis. And so if they can find the easiest route out, then the delivery part of the labour will be a lot easier and a lot quicker. So these kind of asymmetrical positions are really, really good for just helping that kind of clicking into place of your baby in the pelvis. So now you're going to circle the hips around. You're going to make a hip circle. And you can carry on with your straw breath, so just gently blowing the breath out between the lips. And if you feel that you want to, you can actually inhale through the straw as well. And it gives you more control over the breath, but in addition to that, it's quite cooling as well. So if you're feeling a little bit overheated, then it can help to bring your temperature down, which isn't an issue at the moment in the middle of winter. However, in labour you might find that you do get quite hot. And then change the direction, circle in the opposite direction. So this is quite a good position as well to help babies if they're stuck. I mean, and don't be too alarmed at that. I mean, that sounds like a horrendous sentence, isn't it? A stuck baby. It's not uncommon for babies to just get a little stuck in the pelvis, and often it'll just take a registrar or a very, very trained midwife to just kind of manipulate them slightly so that they're moving away from the bony landscapes. But you can do this yourself. So this would be in the middle of sort of the second stage when you're pushing and you just find that you're pushing and nothing's happening. So come into this position. Come into a lunging position, give your baby lots of space, change the landscape of the pelvis, and they might just slot into position a bit more easily. It's also the go-to movement that I recommend for breech babies. So there's a little sequence of things you can do to get babies out of the breech position as well. So we're going to have a little bit of a stretch here, nothing to do with labour, just why not? The ball will roll away, but weirdly they quite often come back. Take the arms up and just have a little stretch. And then as you breathe out, circle the arms all the way around and bring the hands back into the heart space. And then breathe in, reach up. And then do the same thing again. We can do this a few times. And then just coming all the way back down. And then you're going to change legs. So when you're in labour, it doesn't matter so much if you change legs, although you do give the full scope of angle changes in your pelvis. But if you're not doing it for angle changes, it doesn't really matter. I just think it's for nice for symmetry, it gives the other knee a rest, gives the hip a rest. We're just going to start with the lunging forwards and backwards. So continuing to work with your straw breath, either just on the exhale or with the inhale and the exhale. Notice how it feels on this side. So you might have a favourable side and a slightly less favourable side, in the sense that one side might be stiffer than the other side. So just notice what's happening. How does this feel? And then we're going to circle the hips around. Just rotating circles, still continuing with that straw breath. And again, these circular movements have the same purpose, so whatever we're using, whether it's a sway, a circle, or a figure of 8, you're using them during the contraction to help dissipate the intensity of the contraction. It also helps to dilate the cervix. So one of the things you want to do in labour is to get your cervix dilated as quickly as you comfortably can, so anything you can do to help the process and the progress of your cervical dilation, the better. And so moving the hips is a good way of increasing the potential of your cervix to dilate. And then can you go the other way, so can you rotate in the opposite direction?
Is this another one you want to only do when you're doing having
Yeah.
contractions?
Yeah, so they are all the same. Anytime you're moving, and what we sort of call active labour techniques, which is what these are. So active just means you're moving. So anytime your contraction stops, so we'll do that now. Contraction stops. So you might as well just take that leg back, and you rest on your wall, and you just wait. Enjoy the break. Enjoy the rest. Maybe take some slow, deep breaths. Maybe have a sip of water. They don't recommend that you glug a lot of water because it might make you feel a little bit sick, but definitely sipping, so taking something in with a straw and just having little sips of water throughout just to keep you hydrated. But this is quite a nice resting position to get into. And what you also can do in this position is the bee breath. So I've talked about this before. This is kind of a baby calming technique. It vibrates and resonates in the whole of your body, so your baby will feel the vibrations and they'll hear the sound as well. It's quite a soothing sound. So in between contractions when you're in your resting phase, just doing a little bit of quiet humming will keep you calm as well and keep you centered. And just keep your baby nice and calm as well. Okay, so next contraction's coming. What are we going to do now? So another range of movements is to just be in this position, but do those same movements again. So hip circles, so just leaning on the ball and just circling the hips around. So you can imagine, can't you? You're getting to the point where, you know, you're getting a bit tired now, you've been there for a while. This is a really good, I'm a tired mummy giving birth position, isn't it? Because you're having to do a bare minimum here of work, just a gentle hip rotation. And we're going to carry on with that bee breath. So you can use the bee breath as one of your labour contraction breaths. And then just coming into resting. Just allow that little bit of time and space between contractions. And then we have another move that you can do. This is an interesting one. It gives a bit more manoeuvrability through the pelvis. It takes a little bit more brain awareness as well. So if you need more distraction, then this is another really good one to do, and it's a figure of 8. So we've done this one before on all fours. Now you've got to translate it onto the ball. So moving one hip in one direction and the other in the other direction. So if you're drawing a figure of 8, and it's kind of a flat figure of 8, so it's a horizontal figure of 8, or you can think of it as like a butterfly or a bow. So any of these images that appear to you. So just moving into this position. And then choose a birthing breath that naturally comes to you. So if you didn't have to think about using a birthing breath, what would you naturally be drawn towards? So you've got a few choices. You've just got the ha breath, you've got the ocean breath, straw breath, bee breath, and then change direction and go the other way. And you can just come into the resting position. So another advantage of being in this position, and also the one that we're going to do in a moment, we're going to stand up, is that your partner, your birth partner, can actually do some sacral massage here. So we've done a little bit of this on each other in the class, but also in the birthing workshop, we do it with the partners. So we train them up to actually do all of these sacral massaging moves. And in this position, it's ideal for them to be able to put some pressure through your pelvis. So when we say sacral massage, it's actually more sacral pressure. And the pressure on the sacrum dramatically reduces the discomfort of the contractions, because the nerve endings that feed the uterus are in a plexus, a bundle at the sacrum. So that's where the vast majority of nerve endings that go into the whole of your lower abdomen are all here. And this is why we might think, you know, when you have period pain, it's often there, isn't it? It's not in your belly, it's here, which is why we put hot water bottles on the back of our pelvis, is because this is the sacral plexus. It's where all the nerve endings are, and it's going to be exactly the same during labour. So all the nerve endings for the uterus are all congested really in the sacrum. So when we put pressure on that area, it reduces the intensity of the sensations. And some of you, did you come, Claire, to the birthing?
No.
So there were 5 who else? Has everybody else had their babies?
Yeah, like Amy, Alex.
Oh yeah, Jen.
Is
Mel.
I haven't heard.
She's got
Mel.
this week tomorrow.
Has she? Oh, you've been in touch with Amy. Okay. She's on her way then. I think she's been on her way for a couple of
No,
weeks.
she said after 38 weeks it's not fun. She keeps thinking, this means they're coming. Well, she's coming.
Yeah. Oh, bless her. Well, hopefully that'll shift things along now.
If not, then we're going to go for a walk on Thursday. Not sure how good I'll be to help something a waddle.
Yeah, go for a model. Yeah, so did you find that was quite,
I still use it when I'm like, Rosie, come on. Because it's like, just there, putting that pressure on, like you were showing us, just really helps ease it all.
Yeah, it is. It's
And I think
really
the warmth
useful.
of their hands as well is actually quite nice.
Yeah, and it's like, so you put a hot water bottle on there
Yeah.
when you've got period pain, don't you?
But sometimes, like, be on the sofa and I'm like, because I sit down all day at work, so it's just like, just put some pressure on it.
Yeah, it's a really, really good technique. It's a really good pain relief technique, actually. It's very similar like the TENS machines on. That does the same thing, only it numbs the pain by giving it an electric shock, whereas actually it's a lot easier to just get someone to lean in and put pressure into that area. Okay, so let's do a couple of the standing moves. So it's an interesting one, this one. But what you're going to do is use the ball against the wall, and you're going to hug it, you're going to snuggle it. So you're going to put it in a position where you're comfortable, and then lean in. So again, if you remember, we've done quite a lot of labour moves up against the wall when we've leaned in against the wall and put our hands up the wall. So now what you're going to do, you're just going to place the ball where you feel comfortable. Either have the feet wide, or maybe have one leg forward and one leg back. And you can either have your hands on top of the ball or underneath, whatever feels comfortable. And again, it's just really nice to just lean into your ball. The ball isn't going anywhere because you've got it really pressed against the wall. And then you can do your moves here, so maybe a nice sway from side to side. And then working with your ocean breath.
So again, any upright position, you've got gravity on your side. So you've got gravity that's helping to press your baby's head against the cervix, which is going to increase the capacity for it to dilate. You've got the increasing pelvic circulation, and again, because your sacrum is facing out and it's nice and exposed, lots of opportunity and potential here for some sacral pressure. And then you can rest here as well, so when the contraction comes to an end, you can just continue to lean into the ball, use it as a nice resting opportunity. And then if you've got one leg forward, you're not going to swap, send the other leg forward. And then this time see if you can work with either a figure of 8 or a circle. How does that feel? So just changing up your hip movement technique and just maintaining your ocean breath. And then you can just rest again and you can come up. So place the ball behind you and place it against your sacrum. So have it quite low down. So placing it against the sacrum, then leaning back. So you want it kind of where your bum is. So probably a bit lower down for some of you, because we're actually going to go up and down. So if you've got it too high, it's not going to go into your lower back. So have the base of the ball about level with your coccyx. And that might be quite nice, just leaning in actually, and just having that pressure. So it's very light pressure comparative to somebody leaning in, but it's still a little bit of pressure. And we can also use this as squatting practice. So if you wanted to do a little bit of squatting for pelvic floor strength, pelvic girdle strength, this is quite a nice way to do it. So you have your feet wide, and then you just keep leaning into the ball. You just drop down, and then you roll all the way back up. It's quite a nice, easy way of working into some squatting positions. And then coming all the way back. So just gently push away from your ball. And you can just draw away around. Okay, what else can we do? So there's a couple of relaxation moves that you can do. One of them is quite nice. Again, it gives you a little bit of sacral pressure, and it's quite good for leg drainage. So if you're getting puffy feet, puffy legs, then this is an option. What you would do is you put the ball against a solid surface, but I'm going to just hope it doesn't run away so that you can see what I'm doing. And you come onto your back and you rest your legs over the ball. So you're kind of in an inverted position. And you could probably do that for about 5 minutes and just allow a little bit of drainage. If the feet touch the wall, you might even be able to kind of rest the feet against the wall as well. So do you want to try that and see how that feels? And if you don't want to, if you don't think it's going to be right for you, then just stay where you are. It's quite nice to just rock the ball in this position around as well. So for some of you this will be really comfortable, it'll be nice, and for some of you it won't be the right thing for you. So you can just play around with what feels good.
You actually do your sacral massage.
Yeah.
Yeah, well that's what I'm thinking. It's not quite, again, it's not as much pressure because it's only, mind you, I was saying that with a full-term baby, that's quite a lot of pressure to get legs, isn't it? So I suppose you might get quite a nice massage. Yeah, so you just rock from side to side, circle the knees around. How's that feel? Ah, good. I just made this one up. I just thought, oh, do you know what might be quite fun? Okay, and then you can just come off, roll to the side.
Yeah, that's good.
So there is a relaxation technique that we can do over the ball, but we'll do that at the end. We might have like a 5 or 10 minute relaxation. What I thought we'd do now is, has anybody got any questions? Or is there anything anybody wants in terms of the stretch? And if not, we'll just do some sort of all body stretches.
So you take these in hospital with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they have got them in some. Well, it depends if Sammy J's is fully up and running. They keep saying they're going to open it. I don't know if it is open yet.
I think we've got them in Derby. Oh.
Yeah, because they've got a midwifery-led unit, haven't they? Kind of bolted or.
Birthing centre, yeah.
That's the word I was looking for.
But yeah, me and did around Anthony to class in Litchfield, and she said the midwife that she's moving now from there, but she works at the Derby, or did work at Derby, and she said that you don't need to take your ball.
Well, you don't, but do you really want to use a ball that somebody else, 60 other people have given birth on? And you've got one, why not?
I was just thinking more for other stuff that Mark trained up to carry.
There's
You've got enough to be doing it.
yeah, especially if you get one of them things, the electric pumps are really good. The other thing that the midwives at Samuel Johnson told me this years and years ago, and I thought it was quite interesting. And they said that if they see a woman coming in with a birthing ball, they know that you know more or less what you're doing. Or they hope you do, and you haven't just thought, oh, I knew that. It is quite an assumption.
Google says
It's a bit of a, the thing is, they know that you are going to have an active labour. They know if you're bringing a birthing ball into the room, you are not going to lie on your back and not know what to do. You've come in prepared to some degree to do something different than just lie on your back. And that means that they kind of approach you a little bit differently, because, you know, there is, yes, and it is an assumption, but there is an assumption there that actually you've done a little bit of research, you want to do something different. And so they're not going to be just kind of getting you pop on the bed, love, and, you know, and just leaving you there, because they know that you're going to use, hopefully, your ball. So there is an element to that as well. And hopefully it's becoming more and more common for people to use their balls. Yeah, they have got them at Burton. In fact, I bought, because I did this years and years ago, and they only had like 1 or 2 at Samuel Johnson. So I bought a load of them because they were so good to me, and they, you know, over the years they've been really helpful to me. So I bought about 3 or 4 balls. So for a long time, the ones they had at Samuel Johnson's were the ones that I bought, and then they took them over to Burton, to Queen's. and then apparently they didn't have anywhere to put them, so they just deflated them and put them in a drawer. And then if anybody turned up and said they wanted to use a birthing ball, some poor midwife had to blow it up. Invariably, it didn't happen because it's very busy at Burton. So that's another reason, unless they've got them set up in a room ready to go, even if they tell you you've got them, if they're not blown up, there's a fat chance of a midwife having the time to blow a ball up for you. So bear that in mind, unless you've been to visit the hospital and you know that every room has a ball in and it has a this and a that and a, you know, if it's a midwifery led unit or a birthing centre, then there's more chance of that being the case. But then there's the kind of the ick factor, isn't there, really? You know, if someone's waters are broken on that ball, do you want to be hugging it? You know what I mean? But then they might be cleaner than yours because they might you know, put theirs through a lot of antiseptic things. Okay, but yeah, so that's the answer. Yes, you do go in with your ball.
That, what would you say?
It kind of depends what they've got. I would recommend having something under your knees because there's no hospital room is going to have a carpet or a rug. It's going to be a hard floor. So if you're planning on doing stuff, I would recommend taking your mat in.
I think I don't know if anyone is booked into Derby, but I think the birthing centre at Derby does actually have like soft
Floor mats.
Yeah, like gym.
Yeah.
I was in there very briefly, so I didn't really get to experience it, but I'm sure it had like quite like
Big thick blue gym mats. Yeah, they used to have them
they
at
had
Samuel
quite a lot of
Johnson as
those.
well. And then apparently the PCT decided they were unhygienic and got rid of them. But they did have them at Samuel Johnson's.
I was in the middle of COVID, like height of COVID when I gave birth, so if they were allowed when I was there,
Brilliant,
they wouldn't
that's
have got rid. It was the October
Different PCT.
second lockdown, so
Different
yeah.
PCT.
they were very white, shiny white, clean things, but they were
Yeah, so again, it varies from place to place, so it might be worth just checking. But yes, I mean, that was ideal because, like Jen said, they were great big, thick, padded and huge. They're the ones that they get at primary schools, you know, if they do gym. And that's perfect because you've got a big space that you and your partner can get onto this nice supported space. They can kneel behind you, do the massage, stroke your hair, all the things that you want them to do, feed your water, feed your grapes.
everyone's in like different sizes to lean on and stuff as well.
Okay.
I mean, it looked great. The whole 5 minutes I was in that.
I mean, and that's kind of what you want. You know, if you're having an active labour, which to be fair, you're all here. That's hopefully what you're aiming for. You kind of want all the bells and whistles. You want the spongy padded mat. You want your ball. You want, like you say, lots of things to lean over. You want all of this. You want a jacuzzi or a birthing pool. You want to have access to all of these things. So it's worth bearing that in mind. If you haven't chosen where you're going to give birth yet, it might be worth making a list of actually what do you want in your room to give birth, because at Burton you're not going to get much.
And even if you said Burton, you can switch, like you can change your mind like now if you didn't know and they just put you down for Burton, you can change.
And if Samuel Johnson's is up and running and you're a local, that's a
Are they
big
planning
one.
on reopening it then?
They were supposed to open it in
Yeah.
September. Still
Because
waiting.
it was like, apparently it was lush, wasn't it? Because they had like proper, it was like, all my friends told me it was like going into like a bloody
It was
hotel.
like a hotel. 2 midwives per labour. They make you toast, they bring you tea, they look after your baby if it cries at night. Honestly, the best. They really are the best. But it was supposed to be. I haven't heard that it's open.
They don't have the staff, but it's the staff.
Yeah, there's a shortage of midwives everywhere, isn't there? Shortage of nurses everywhere. So whether it will reopen or not, I don't know.
I wasn't given the option, so I'm guessing it won't be open by the end of February.
Yeah, I wasn't given the option.
Okay, yeah. But then, as Jen said,
But I don't know if they necessarily ask you about the option. I think
I
did that.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
asked, yeah.
Because for me it was just like assumed Burton, and I was like, my sister-in-law had told me about the birthing suite at Derby last spring, so I was like, oh
Because
no, I want Derby.
Because I'm that way, I was also given Good Hope.
Yeah, I was as well.
But I think they've got a birthing suite now as well.
But I work with people from Good Hope, so I don't want to be.
Yeah, it does make a difference.
Like,
You'd
the
be-
thought of like bumping into someone when I'm like,
with legs akimbo,
or if I'm route marching up and down the halls trying to move something like
shrieking,
Yeah.
swearing.
Just, yes, back you bring it.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
your
have
line
that.
manager walks past. Yeah, you don't.
I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
I was at school with the doctor that delivered my baby. I hadn't seen her in like how many years, and she walked in the room just to do my instrumental delivery. She's like, oh, I know you. I was like, hi, Shoma. Yeah. But it was nice though. She was lovely and really intelligent, so I felt safe. Yeah, I trusted her, even though I've not seen her in days.
Yeah,
Over 10 years, yeah, but she was like really normal, but really studious. I was like, yeah, you'd make a good doctor. Shoving an ibuprofen up before my foot later after the stitches was a bit of a weird experience.
Gotta be done.
Still friends on Facebook.
So is Derby better than Burton then?
I heard Burton's got some more facilities recently though. I've heard it's been, a friend's recently given birth there and she said it's been done up and there's a couple of new birthing pool rooms and things, but Derby has like a separate midwife-led unit and the labour wards. So the midwife-led unit is more similar to Samuel Johnson, not as nice, but then it's still attached to the hospital, so you've got kind of the best of both if you want, but that's where I went for it. I ended up
So
in
I would
the
say,
midwife
yeah,
wards anyway,
in
but
the
this time maybe I'll stay in the midwife bit, hopefully.
In the absence of Samuel Johnson not being available, that, you know, particularly not to, depends where you are. Like if you're over the other way, you don't really want a 40-minute drive to
Just the thought
Derby.
of driving past Burton to get to Derby, like
Yeah.
literally on the
Well,
A30.
because I'm Barton, where are you?
Bradley.
But
Bradley.
I'm Barton and it's literally 5 minutes in it, so Fradley, because to get to the hospital, because it's literally
it's
just
Bradley,
off the A38 in Derby, it actually only makes 5 minutes difference from me, so from Fradley, you've got the same to Burton as I would have to, so I think it would only be 5 minute difference.
Derby, that bit of Derby is so quick because I go drumming there every week. It's 20 minutes from my house and I go past the hospital. It's about 15 minutes.
I mean,
from
the car ride was
Burton.
the worst
Martin.
car ride of my life. So you don't want to be in there for as long as possible. But it's 5 minute different, I think. From
My husband's from Derby and I live in Bradley, so it takes 20 minutes to get to his house.
Whereas I find
Yeah,
getting
you
to
get
the
stuck in traffic all the time.
to get to the first yes, you come off the junction, but it takes so much quicker times.
Yeah. No, Claire was just saying the same thing. You know, to actually get into Burton, it's where the hospital is. It's quicker to go to Derby. And Lichfield, you have to remember that the road is closed now as well, isn't it? Actually, Samuel Johnson did open. It's a lot harder to get to. Okay, would you like to have a quick relax? So this is an option, and it doesn't suit everybody, but it might. So I'll come sideways again so that you can see. But it's just a way of kneeling into your ball. So I've got a bad knee. I just need to put that there, otherwise I can't come back. So you're going to widen the knees enough so that you can actually kind of lean in to the ball, and you can put your pillow on top of the ball to rest your head. Now in terms of sitting back on the legs, what I would recommend is putting something like I've done. Can you just throw me that other petal, Ellie? So I mean, I'm using these, but a block will be fine, rolled up blanket will be fine. You just want to stop the compression in the calf muscle because it's not good for varicose veins. So if you have got varicose veins already, you might want to come up back into this position. But what you might want to do is push the ball against the wall if you don't want it to move. Or you might actually like that little bit of oceanic rocking that comes with it. So if you're leaning this way, then yeah, you might want to be freestyling. If you're coming back and sitting on it here, you might want the ball against the wall. Okay, so you can just choose whichever you feel is the best. position, and then you're just going to rest here for 5 minutes. So nothing more to do than to just completely relax. So I'll just put a little bit of music on so that you can relax a little bit more. So just feel that you are dropping yourself down into the mat a little bit more, so you can kind of feel a sense of easing. Just notice if there are some little movements that you are almost unconscious of. So it might be that you find yourself just gently rocking from side to side. Your eyes to gently close if you feel comfortable with your eyes resting. And just turning your awareness to your breath. Your awareness on the sensation of your breath through the nostrils. Notice how it feels. What sensations are you aware of? As your breath gently moves through the nostrils. Become aware of the sensation of the breath just in and out of your left nostril. Just notice the sensation. Purely emerging out of your left nostril. Across shift the awareness back to sensation through both nostrils together. Relaxation. So you might want to give the toes